I'm done. So here we go. Let's see. So I understand English, but why can't I speak it? All right. Hi there. It is time for another episode of All About English Live. I am your host, the one and only Dennis Wilborn, and I am excited to be here today to share and talk about a common challenge that I know many people face when they are learning English. Have you ever found yourself nodding along, when someone's speaking to you in English, but then you're struggling to respond when it's your turn to speak? Or maybe you freeze up when it's your time, when you're in a group and you never say anything. Maybe you're in a meeting and everyone's going around the room and asking questions and you just don't know what to say, but you understand everything. I understand that struggle. Okay. You are not alone. So today we're going to explore why this happens and how you can overcome this hurdle and become a confident English speaker. And of course, I want you to stick around until the end for a bonus tip that will help you take your English skills to the next level. So let's get started. I understand English. So language learning is more than just understanding the language. Whenever you're speaking a language, it's important to remember that the language that you're speaking is meant for communication, okay? The whole point is to communicate and connect with people. So if you're only getting one half, like the understanding part, but you're not able to communicate your ideas and your thoughts, that is really difficult. So we're going to talk about some speaking practice, why that's important, and of course, go over probably the biggest thing that everyone struggles with, and that's the fear of making mistakes, because it really can hold you back from speaking clearly and fully. Okay. Do you like my new slideshow? I love this new slideshow. Uh-oh, what happened to what happened? I lost my background. Eh, I got to double check those slides. So reason number one that people can't reply when they're speaking English is because, well, they don't practice enough. You're not practicing enough. And let's get real for just a minute. If you find it tough speaking English, even though you're a rock star at understanding it, you might need to start hitting the practice court more often. Now, look, it's like playing basketball or baseball or badminton or any kind of sport. You can't just watch the game and expect to be a pro. You need to get out there and practice. Practice, shooting hoops or hitting balls or hitting the little birdie thing if you're playing badminton, if you expect to build your skills, right? It's the same thing with English. You need to use your mouth muscles. I talked about this in one of my Thai talks last week. Use your mouth muscles, build your muscle memory, and get those muscles in shape. So make sure that you balance your focus between understanding and speaking. Don't just sit back and listen or try to understand everything. You need to jump into conversations, practice with your friends, take every opportunity that you can to speak English. The more practice you get, the more confident you'll become. And soon enough, you will be speaking like a pro. I promise, just like a pro. Here we go. The number two reason that people can't speak is because they're afraid. The dreaded mistake. They're afraid of making mistakes. So, I know you worry about getting it wrong. You don't want to use the wrong grammar or something like that. But let me tell you something. Even native speakers make mistakes. Nobody is perfect. So let that just calm your fears right out there. Even native speakers don't always get it right. Okay. And another thing to remember is making mistakes is actually a good thing. That's right. I said it. Making mistakes means you are pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. and trying new things. And that's how you learn and improve. So while it is important to strive and try to be accurate, don't get too caught up in avoiding mistakes. Embrace them as part of the learning process and focus on speaking fluently and confidently. I'm reminded of when I was learning how to sell. Someone told me I was a really bad salesman, and I'm still not the best. But something somebody told me was the problem is not the amount of times you're trying to succeed at selling something. The problem is you're not failing enough. So making mistakes will actually help you to improve that much faster. Okay. It is part of the process. Think of it like if you have children, like I have children, I don't correct every mistake that they make because they make mistakes all the time, but that's okay. It's part of life. You make a mistake and then you model the correction and then you learn and time after time, but it's never going to fix itself if you don't actually make those mistakes. Okay. So raise your hand if you've ever felt nervous or self-conscious about speaking in any situation. Okay. Look, it doesn't matter. We've all felt self-conscious or nervous in different situations. And the truth is, fear and a lack of confidence can really seriously hold you back when it comes to speaking English. It's like having a mental block, right? It's like, if you're spending too much time thinking about making mistakes or thinking about how scared you are, you're not going to be able to think straight, right? So first of all, recognize that fear and the lack of confidence can automatically negatively impact your ability to speak. When you are too worried about making mistakes or being judged, it can cause you to stumble over your words or even forget what you wanted to say. It's like your brain is so focused on the fear that it forgets the English. So I know people who are excellent English speakers and they just can't do it. Native speakers get up on a stage and try to give a speech, and uh, they can't speak because they are too focused on the fear. So don't let the fear get in the way. There are ways to build your confidence and overcome your fear. One tip, you might want to write this down, is to visualize your success. Okay. Picture yourself speaking English confidently and fluently in different situations, like at work or in social settings. This can help you to build the confidence and feel more prepared when the actual situation arises. So I like to do this when I am preparing for a presentation or a speech. I imagine myself giving the speech. I imagine the audience understanding. And it's something that runners do and professional athletes do. They visualize the game or the race or the whatever it may be, the competition. They visualize themselves running and winning or competing and winning, and then they just go out and let it happen, and they do it. So remember, taking risks and making mistakes is part of the learning process. So don't be too hard on yourself. If you stumble over your words or you don't know a certain phrase, just keep practicing and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. The more you speak, the more confident you'll become, and you know that's just the end of it. So just take a deep breath. I that reminds me, uh, when I have a very nervous student or client the first time we meet, and I can tell that they're just really nervous and they're afraid of speaking, the first thing I say is take a deep breath in, out, and just let the stress go out, because the fear is not going to help you. It never does. All right. Okay. Number 4, the reason why, and this is, we're going to get back into that perfection thing, but let's talk about vocabulary and grammar. Okay. Vocabulary and grammar are the absolute bread and butter of English. If you have a limited knowledge of these two, things, it can definitely hold you back from speaking fluently. Now, the good news is you don't have to have a massive vocabulary to have a conversation. You can actually survive and get a conversation with only, or have a conversation and only have a vocabulary of, 1,000 words. It doesn't take much. Most native speakers only have a vocabulary of about 5 to 10,000 words. I know, amazing, right? Especially when you consider that the English language has over 500,000 words. That's half a million. So, yeah, I mean, I learn new words all the time, at least once or twice a week. And don't let vocabulary scare you, but you should have a basic understanding. So, if you don't have the right words to express your ideas, or if you don't have the right grammar to put them together, you're going to have a real tough time communicating effectively. But there are plenty of ways that we can improve your vocabulary and grammar skills. And one tip that I give all the time is to read as much as possible, whether it's books or articles or even social media posts. Reading can expose you to new vocabulary and sentence structures. And the best part is you can do it from anywhere and you don't have to study a textbook. Ah! Who loves textbooks? Not this guy. All right. Another tip that you can try is practice speaking in English as much as possible. Okay. This is, again, it's going to help you build your confidence. Remember, point 3 that I made was it builds confidence. So that's not going to happen unless you step out of your comfort zone and really try and try and try. It also gives you the opportunity to practice using new vocabulary and grammar structures in a natural setting or a natural way. So make sure that you focus on building your vocabulary and improving your grammar skills. Okay. It's not the most glamorous part of learning English, but it is certainly one of the most important. And with some dedication and practice, you can be speaking English like a pro, like a native in no time. Really, if you avoid the grammar books, you can read them if you want to, but spend that time reading and practicing speaking, and you're going to do really, really well. All right. And now it's time for the bonus tip. Bonus tip. Oh, and you can't see it. I got to do something about these slides. So here is some of my best tips for improving your speaking. All right. Some of my best tips for improving your speaking. Oh, how did I get, what happened? What happened there? All right. Maybe that's not what I want. That's what I wanted, because you can't read the slide anyway. Might as well look at me. Okay. So some of the best tips. Let's talk about reading again and practicing speaking. I know I just mentioned it in tip number 4, but reading is really the best way that you're going to find to expand your vocabulary and improve your grammar. Why is that? It's because most of the things that you read are written in proper grammar. It's not like a podcast or something where you're listening to native speakers. You might hear a lot of English that is poorly spoken. It happens all the time. So if you really want to build that vocabulary and grammar up, reading is one of the best ways. Now, it's going to expose you to new words and new phrases and it helps you understand the words and phrases when they're used in context. If you're reading a book like of vocabulary words, you're really not, it's not helpful because you're just putting more words in. It's like uh, if they don't have a context, a meaning, if they don't have a setting, it's just like completely useless for helping you. You'll just end up with a head full of vocabulary words, but you never know how to use them. Okay. So make sure you try to read as much as possible: books, news articles, or social media. I often recommend news articles or blogs because they're usually shorter than books. Books are great, but blogs are short. You can really take them and get a whole idea in one short setting. I also recommend that you read at least twice in one setting. And the other thing that's going to help you with your speaking practice as well, when you read, speak out loud. Okay. Speaking out loud is, again, helping you to train those muscles in your mouth and really get the muscle memory building. So now, when it comes to speaking, practice really does make perfect. One of the best ways to improve your speaking skills is to try practicing to speaking every single day. Now, you can do this with a native speaker. If you don't live in a place where there are many native speakers, you can find a coach online. I have a coaching program that I do at Amazing Talker. You can find the link in the description, and that is very useful. You can do a language exchange partner on, search on Facebook or Instagram, maybe Instagram. I'm not sure if they do. LinkedIn, some places like social media, you might be able to find some language exchanges in your area. Or you can do like my wife did, practice talking to yourself in the mirror. That's another very useful and very successful. My wife speaks great English because she practiced a lot when she was a kid. She never had a teacher teach her how. I wish I could get her to come on the show sometime, but she's not going to do it yet. She's always a little bit bashful. So um, another thing is another thing that I do is talk to yourself, or I talk to myself. You can talk to yourself. I know it feels a little weird, but you get one of these little earbuds, go out walking, and start describing the world around you. You know, describe, oh, that's a tree, that's a bus, that's this. Or you could go a little bit more complicated as your grammar and vocabulary improve. You could start describing your actions. I'm walking down this road. It's a beautiful spring day. And or you can do it like when you're driving. Do try to remember to focus on the actual road because that's kind of important. And it's kind of important to do that. All right. And that is basically what my bonus tip is. Make sure you read every day, read out loud, practice speaking, either with a partner or in a in a group, or even just talking to yourself. Do that every day, and your vocabulary and grammar and your overall speaking ability will start to improve. Okay. Remember, learning a language should be a lot of fun and it should be enjoyable. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. Take some risks. Read and have conversations about things that are interesting to you. That's the other reason nobody likes textbooks and no one wants to study, because you're reading boring stuff. Find the stuff that you think is interesting and read it. It's a lot of fun. And trust me, the more you do it, the better you'll get. Okay. So keep practicing. You'll be speaking like a native in no time. And yeah, that's all I got to say about that. All right. And that is a wrap for today's episode. Let's see if you can start putting some theory into practice. Okay. Remember, to improve your speaking, you've got to make sure you're practicing either with native speakers. You can record yourself. You can listen with, if you record yourself, you'll be listening to your pronunciation. And really, the biggest lesson I want you to take home today is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's really what it boils down to. That fear is one of the biggest hurdles. And as soon as you get over that, you'll be much happier. All right. So again, that is all that I have for today's episode. Thank you very much for joining me on All About English Live. Thanks for tuning in. And I really appreciate the comments. Leave your comments down below. Come check out my one-on-one class if you're looking for a coach or a tutor, and make sure you join us here every Saturday night for more fun and more informative English lessons. I am going to try to take your advice. If you have any requests, leave the request down in the comments. I would love to see, oh yeah, tell me, let's talk about this or let's talk about that. I have some ideas for next Saturday, but if you have a good thought, let me know. Okay. All right. And before you go, make sure you like this show, subscribe, and leave comments. Let me know what you thought of today's episode. Let me know if you have any questions. And right now, because I love questions, I am going to start taking questions in the chat right now on the live show. Remember that practice makes perfect. So keep practicing. Stay positive. I can't believe I just said that. Wow. Huh. Practice makes perfect. Now, that's such a cliche. Practice does not make perfect, practice makes improvement. And my father used to say, perfect practice makes perfect, meaning that if you are practicing the wrong things, you're not going to be perfect. You're just going to get good at doing it the wrong way. So keep practicing, keep improving, stay positive, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Look, I believe in you. With a little dedication, a little hard work, you'll be speaking English fluently in no time. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time on All About English